So, what London landmark is this?
This is, of course, Westminster Palace. You know, the Houses of Parliament. Specifically, we happen to be standing outside of Westminster Hall.
So what are we doing here?
Well, today we will be talking about the trial and execution of Charles I. This took place in January of 1649.
Oh, I see. I take it the trial took place here, in Westminster Hall.
That's quite right.
Actually, there was no law in all of England's legal history that dealt with the trial of a monarch.
Right, so it fell to a Dutch lawyer named Isaac Dorislaus to write an order setting up the court that was to try Charles. He had to dig way back to ancient Roman times before he found a law that said a military body, or in this case, a government, could overthrow a tyrant.
His trial started January 1, 1649. He was accused of being a tyrant, traitor, and murderer, and a public enemy to the Commonwealth of England.
Say, why don't we take a look inside at where the trial actually took place? Well, here's where the trial happened. We think Charles was positioned somewhere in the middle of the room.
He was to be tried by 135 judges who would decide his guilt, but only 68 actually turned up for the trial.
Right. Those who didn't show up wanted no part in being associated with the trial of the king.
As a matter of fact, there were plenty of members of Parliament who didn't even want the king to be tried.
Yes, but these members were kept from attending Parliament on Cromwell's orders. He would only allow those members to attend whom he thought supported the trial.
This was called the Rump Parliament. Only 46 of Cromwell's supporters attended. The vote to put Charles on trial passed 26 to 20.
That shows that trying Charles had no clear support, even from those members who were loyal to Cromwell.
The chief judge was a man named John Bradshaw. He wasn't one of the original judges selected, but of the 68 who showed up, no one wanted to be chief.
Bradshaw knew putting Charles on trial was not popular, and actually feared for his life.
Yes. They say he made himself a special hat, lined with metal to protect himself against a potential attack from angry mobs. Dude, what's that on your head?
It's a protective hat.
Well, take it off. You look ridiculous.
Sorry.
So anyway, this hall was packed with soldiers during the trial. Were they there to protect the judges, or make sure Charles didn't escape? Who knows?
We do know that the public wasn't allowed in until after the charges had been read. Charles refused to defend himself, and said he did not recognize the legality of the court.
He also refused to take his hat off, as a sign of disrespect to the judges.
See, I should have left mine on.
No, your hat wasn't a sign of disrespect, it just made you look like a fool.
Well, anyway, the verdict was, of course, guilty. When this was announced, Charles finally started to defend himself.
Yes, but the court told him it was too late, and hustled him out of the hall.
The date for his execution was set for Tuesday, January 30th. Let's go see what's up with that.
Here we are in front of Whitehall Palace. This was Charles's primary London residence. The execution was to take place on a scaffold erected in front.
Early that Tuesday morning, Charles was allowed to go for a last walk in St. James Park with his pet dog. It was a very cold January day. He also had a simple last meal of bread and wine.
That's because the execution was to happen early in the morning. But there was a delay.
Right. The man who was to behead Charles refused to do it. So did a number of others. Finally, another man and his assistant were found.
They were paid £100, and allowed to wear masks so no one would ever know who they were.
Yes, and £100 back then was more money than most people made in years of work.
At nearly 2 in the afternoon, Charles was led up to the scaffold.
He purposefully wore thick underwear under his clothes. He was concerned that if he shivered in the cold, people might think he was afraid.
He gave a last speech that few could hear, and then the axe fell.
Afterwards, spectators, after paying a fee, could go up on the scaffold. Many dipped handkerchiefs in his spilled blood, believing it could heal illnesses.
Dude, that's creepy.
Relax. Let's go see where Charles is buried and wrap this up.
This is St. George's Chapel. It's part of Windsor Castle, and it's where Charles I is buried.
Yes. His remains are in a vault under the floor, marked by a large stone slab.
Why don't we go in and have a look?
Sorry, we can't. It seems Hanchuk couldn't find any usable pictures of the inside.
Well, anyway, it's interesting to note that when Charles II took the throne in 1660, he went after anyone who was involved in his father's execution.
Yes. People who signed the death warrant were charged with regicide and executed.
The only people to escape punishment were the two executioners. Because they had worn masks, no one knew who they were.